Welcome. Wow, great. Welcome to the 48th Annual Iowa Women's Hall of Fame. I'm sure, yes. Okay, this is starting out right. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear throughout the day. I'm Cheryl Wisenan. I'm chairman of the 2022 Iowa Women's Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and also serve in my third and final term on the Iowa Commission of the Status of Women, which is through the Iowa Department of Human Rights. And it is my great pleasure to welcome you today to, get this, the 48th Annual Iowa Women's Hall of Fame. To start the To start the morning off with enthusiasm, let's give a great round of applause to the Des Moines Community Playhouse and what it's done, this team. If any of you have ever been to a show here, you know what goes on behind the scenes. But they make the magic work. Just look how spectacular this is. They make the magic work. So we do thank them very much. I don't think there'll be any tap dancers or singers or any dropped curtains or anything like that, unless, of course, any of you want to come up from the audience and do that today. Here's your stage and here's your moment. We will now have the colors presented by Girl Scout Troop 30078 of Des Moines. Please stand if you are able, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our wonderful Girl Scouts. Hold it right close.
I pledge allegiance to the... What? Color Guard, advance. Girl Scouts, honor your flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color Guard dismissed.
Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, girls. Thank you very much. Doesn't that just warm your heart? Now that we're seated and we're ready to get started, I'm pleased to introduce our Master of Ceremonies for today's festivities. If you get yourself out of bed early in the morning, you can enjoy your first cup of coffee or tea with Eric Hansen, anchor of KCCI's KCCI This Morning. Or if you get home after a long day at work, you may catch him doing his wonderful stories that he does all the time on Monday nights at 6 o'clock called This is Iowa. We thought he would be the perfect person to be our MC for today because you got to admit, this is Iowa. And he is a family man. He's a seasoned journalist. He's a phenomenal singer. If you guys just keep clapping, maybe you'll get him to sing along the way. And he's a man who turns heads skyward when he walks into a room. At this moment, we welcome Eric Hansen from KCCI.
Thank you so much. Thank you. There's no question of why people turn their heads skyward. I'm 6'7", so you have no choice but to do that. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful day. Sounds like this afternoon we might get a little bit of rain, but they've timed this perfectly so that I can work this into the morning schedule, which I'm kind of used to, but also we can get home before it might start raining a little today, which we enjoy. It is great to just be back in person, isn't it? Yes. After several years of going through challenges as a state, we've honored some people over the last couple of years, and we weren't able to do that in person, understandably, because of the pandemic. They got their awards, but now we're together and we're able to honor some other folks here as well. So we want to start this morning by specifically honoring the people who have earned this honor of the Hall of Fame in past years. Because if you look through your program and you turn to the back, you can see the long list of very distinguished Iowans who have earned this honor and become a member of the Hall of Fame way back for the last several decades. Look through that list and you'll find great names like Carrie Chapman Catt, or Babcock Miller, whose name is on a state office building. Governor Robert Ray. Mary Beth Tinker is on that list. Astronaut Peggy Whitson is on that list. So is Cristine Vilsack. You'll find people on both sides of the political aisle like Ruth Ann Gaines and Mary Kramer as well. Over the last couple of years, we've had the honor to bestow this Hall of Fame name on several different people. And right now we'd like to specifically call them out and have them stand as we introduce them. The honorees from 2021, Cornelia Clark, Janice Mitchell, Donna Reed, and Roxanne Ryan. And from 2020, Betty Jean Dillevue Durden, Helen Miller, Anne Fry Jorgensen, and Mary Youngbear. Would you please rise if you are in the stands? Let us thank you and congratulate you for your time. But we know that there are other honorees here as well, people who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame for the last 40 or 50 years as well. If your name is on the list in the program anywhere, would you please stand as well and let us welcome you back to the Hall of Fame as well. You've done great things for our state, and if you are a member of the Christine Wilson Medal of Equality and Justice winner over the past several years, would you please stand if you got one of those awards as well? A lot of great work has been done here, but it's not just the honorees. All these people on stage, all of them would say, it takes a village to put something like this together, and the support of family and friends as well. If you are a family member or a friend of somebody who's on stage here to support them, can you please rise and let us thank you for your efforts in making this possible for them. Thank you for being here. We appreciate that. Now, this is the 48th Annual Iowa Women's Hall of Fame ceremony, and some of you have been here from the very beginning. It is great when everybody comes out to support one another, whether you are a former honoree or a family member, because as we said, it takes a lot of people to support the people who do such good in our community. We want to take time now to welcome San Juan, the director of the Iowa Department of Human Rights, to the stage as well. Sam.
Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, I would like to thank our wonderful Status of Women Commission. I know that later on you'll have an opportunity to hear from them because they're part of this ceremony. They really put this event together along with our wonderful staff from the Department of Human Rights. We've got Monica Stone, who's our deputy director. I think Maria here, and then Sonia Stride, Trevi, and then I think Kim Cheeks, who's the executive officer for the Status of Women office, might still be out front. So some of them are probably running around busy, but I just wanted to take this point of privilege to recognize them. So today, thank you. Today, we're going to be recognizing 5 remarkable individuals who saw barriers as opportunities to bring better solutions that improve the lives of women and girls in our state. We spent time today to honor their enduring contributions. It is important that we ensure that history properly records women's roles and impact. This induction ceremony is a great opportunity for us to do that. It's an honor to induct each of you into the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame and Christine Wilson Medal for Equality and Justice. You will today hear a little bit about their stories and their achievements and encourage us to strive for greatness, to do our best, to be our best. They've rewritten history and paved the way for the next generation of our leaders. Congratulations to all of you. I had the opportunity to meet you individually, and I think many of you are here to support maybe one or the other of them, but here, all of us here to celebrate them all. Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to turn the mic back over to Eric.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Director Wong. We appreciate it. Each year, the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame ceremony is held near the date when women across the country won the right to vote in the United States in 1920, which was August 25th, Women's Equality Day. Yesterday at the Iowa State House, Governor Kim Reynolds is also a member of the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame, signed a proclamation honoring Women's Equality Day and the great strides made by Iowans. Let's take a moment to listen into a little bit of her presentation and her remarks from yesterday.
Constitutional right to vote to women. The right to vote is the cornerstone of our democracy, and it belongs to all citizens. And we're incredibly grateful to the women of our history who fought so hard for us to bear the right and civic duty to vote, ensuring a better life for us today. Women in Iowa and nationwide continue to expand equal rights to move us to a more just and equitable future. In the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame, we honor women whose contributions and achievements have shaped Iowa with their leadership, compassion, service, stories, and legacies. We also celebrate the recipient of the Cristine Wilson Medal for Equity and Justice, an advocate whose vision for human rights has resulted in a lifetime of raising awareness, influencing policy, and creating change. Congratulations to the inductees of the 2022 Iowa Women's Hall of Fame and their families. You are trailblazers, role models, and a shining example that anything is possible. So now it's my privilege to proclaim Women's Equality Day in Iowa. Whereas the women of Iowa and the nation were granted the right to vote with the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution on August 26, 1920. And in 1998, the Iowa Constitution was amended to read that all men and women are by nature free and equal and have certain inalienable rights. And whereas the state of Iowa is committed to eliminating inequalities in its laws and in its attitudes of its people, and has made significant progress in the direction with the knowledge that we must continue to advance the effort to ensure equal rights and opportunities for women, because the value of women as politicians, business leaders, advocates, volunteers, homemakers, and workers is still not fully recognized. And whereas Elizabeth Cowles, Mary Richards, Laurie Schipper, Mary Swander, and the Honorable AKO Abdul-Samad symbolize the diversity of Iowa, demonstrating outstanding achievements in the fields of law, academia, author, civic involvement, social justice, health, education, and victim rights, to which generations of Iowans can look to these remarkable individuals as role models. And whereas the state of Iowa affirms its commitment to the advancement of equal rights for women through the work of the Iowa Commission on the Status of Women, because the state of Iowa is dedicated to the principles of equality and fairness, which has been and continues to be an integral part of our state's foundation. Now, therefore, I, Kim Reynolds, Governor of the state of Iowa, do hereby proclaim August 26, 2022 as Women's Equality Day. Yay.
Thank you so much, Governor Reynolds, for that. But we also want to give you a little bit of a history lesson to let you know a little bit about the background of this award and the distinguished part of it. To highlight the women's heritage and recognize their important contributions to society, the Iowa Commission on the Status of Women established this Women's Hall of Fame back in 1975. Each year since, the Commission and the Iowa Department of Human Rights welcome 4 women to the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame, paying tribute to them and also setting forth them as role models to women and girls throughout the state of Iowa. The Commission also awards the Cristine Wilson Medal of Equality and Justice to any recipient who has made significant contributions to the state of Iowa, especially in the area of equality and justice. As of 2022, 193 women have been inducted into the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame, and the Commission on the Status of Women has awarded the Cristine Wilson Medal of Equality and Justice to just 35 recipients. We're proud to welcome to our stage the Hall of Fame recipients, or those accepting on their behalf: Elizabeth Betty Bates Cowles of Des Moines, Mary Ann Richards of Ames, Laurie Schipper of Ankeny, and Mary Swander of Kelowna. Thank you all for being here, and we're going to learn more about you in just the next few minutes. Today we also present the Cristine Wilson Award for Equality and Justice to Iowa State Representative Akeo Abdul-Samad of Des Moines. You can learn much more about each of them in the program. There's a full page on their background and their bio. We're going to hear a little bit more about them. But today, to do the honoring, we also want to thank the Iowa Commission on the Status of Women for today's event and their ongoing efforts through the Iowa Department of Human Rights. Please stand as I introduce you. The commission is chaired by Beth Coonan, with Commissioners Andrew Lawver of Lorville, William Fleming of Waterloo, Esperance Nabitsi of Johnston, Matthew Gilbert of Waterloo, and Cheryl Wisenand of Des Moines. Thank you all so much for your leadership. Now, this is a milestone time as well, because with these inductees, we're witnessing a slice of history. 2020, during the middle of the pandemic, was the 100th anniversary of the success of the women's suffrage movement. Although the pandemic kind of slowed down those celebrations in 2020, Iowans have since had the opportunity to really showcase women's achievements. And today, we're proud to honor the women who've gone before us and the women of today's achievements. As we said, the Hall of Fame was established in 1975, 48 years ago now, to recognize women who've made lasting contributions to the state, the nation, and our world. The Hall of Fame Selection Committee is comprised of 4 members of the Iowa Commission on the Status of Women, and also 2 representatives of the public. They are Michael Fleming, Andrew Lawver, Marty Anderson, and Deb Chido. We thank them for their leadership and their service in the input of this decision-making process to honor these folks. Now, life moves forward, but history is constant. And before the presentation of today's awards, let's take a moment to pay tribute to these Iowa Women's Hall of Fame and Cristine Wilson Medalist recipients who've passed away since 2020, particularly Dr. Ion Shaduk, who was inducted in 2019, and all the members who have passed. The 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution granted women the right to vote, that right known as women's suffrage. It was ratified August 18th of 1920, 102 years ago this month. A tribute to these efforts will be seen today in the presentation of yellow roses up on stage. They're a sign in the early 1900s, the women's suffrage movement. They used yellow roses to show support for the women's right to vote, while anti-suffragists donned red roses to show their opposition to the movement back in time. A history lesson there as well. The ratification ended nearly a century of protest, and its passage guarantees that all women have the right to vote. This milestone was fraught with struggle, decades of protest, agitation, and perseverance. Several generations of suffrage supporters lectured and wrote and marched and lobbied and practiced civil disobedience to achieve what so many Americans considered a radical change to the U.S. Constitution 102 years ago. In fact, many of the recipients of the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame actually helped this struggle to guarantee the women's right to vote. Well, today, it's time to move on with the awards, and Beth Coonan, the chairman of the Iowa Commission on the Status of Women, will have her efforts. We're going to hear from her later in the program. But assisting in the presentation today is Commissioner Fleming as well as we move forward. And our first recipient, to honor our first recipient, is Commissioner Andrew Lawver. Andrew.
Our first inductee for the 2022 Iowa Women's Hall of Fame is Elizabeth Betty Cowles of Des Moines, Iowa, who we are honoring posthumously. Is a member of the family here today, since Elizabeth has passed? All right. Elizabeth Morley Bates Cowles was born in 1900 in Oswego, New York, and upon her death in 1946, the family donated her childhood home to serve as a museum and headquarters for the Oswego Historical Society. Elizabeth Cowles attended preparatory school and Smith College, although she did not graduate from Smith because of her worldly travels and marrying Harvard student John Cowles, son of the iconic Iowa newspaper publisher. Although only 23, she became active in Des Moines civic and social life and was a founder of the Civic Music Association, which celebrates its 95th season starting next month. Her interests were limitless. Mrs. Cowles left a continuing contribution to the community and our children. In the early 1930s, she led the development of the Iowa Maternal Health League in Des Moines, a free birth control clinic for, quote, needy married women, close quote, which we now know as Planned Parenthood of Iowa. The free clinic was made available to all women regardless of race. Elizabeth's contributions to women, children, and social justice through the arts, health, and social justice contribution continued throughout her life. A true trailblazer, Elizabeth Cowles was a charter member of the United Negro College Fund and national vice chairwoman in 1959. In 1965, she was recognized for service to human rights by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She was a life member of the NAACP, so it was with great pride that we honor Elizabeth Bates Cowles. Congratulations.
Mary Richards. Mary Richards' name is synonymous with the League of Women Voters. Yes. In the late 1960s, her family moved from Michigan, to the rural Story County, where they raised their 3 daughters. She earned a political science degree from Iowa State University and a law degree from Drake University. Mary's work at the Iowa Legislative Services caught the eye of Story County Attorney Ruth Harkin, who also is a member of the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame. Mary became assistant county attorney, focusing on vulnerable youth and justice. In 1978, Mary Richards was elected Story County attorney, a position she held for more than 20 years. There were few, yes, that's worthy of a clap. There are few female attorneys and even fewer female county attorneys in those days. Her tenure included adding the victim witness staff and also while being active in the National Association of Counties. After the death of her husband, Bob, in 1983, to her retirement, if you want to call it that, she was a total fixture in Ames, Iowa. Rhino meant only retirement in name only. Retirement brought her leadership role with the national organization Fight Crime, Invest in Kids. Her work with youth and law brought the value of the League of Women Voters as a friend and an advisor to so many different ages, races, and neighborhoods. Mary's concern, pragmatism, and vision about the environment has led to a League of Women Voters study of the unique Ames Waste Management System and the Ames Climate Action Committee. Earlier this year, Iowa State Attorney General Tom Miller appointed her to the Iowa Natural Resources Climate Action Rate Assessment Board. Said a colleague, "I've admired Mary Richards for decades. Her great intellect, her leadership, her infectious sense of humor, her optimism, her concern for others and for the environment. Mary always steps up when leadership is needed." Mary positively impacts women's status through her quiet yet personal example, her extensive mentoring of women to run for political office, and her active participation in community activities. Women run and women are elected because of women like Mary Richards. She has a positive impact on women and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Mary Richards?
Mary, let me sneak out. Oh, actually, let's take a photo quick first, please. Just go ahead and smile there for the photo. Good. Mary, if you have a second, I grew up in Story County. Your name is synonymous with hard work in Story County. But now with this honor, kind of give me a little reflection into your history and why you do what you have done in Story County and throughout Central Iowa.
Oh, well, I'm just going to give you my remarks that I really that I really thought about. Well, I am really honored and humbled to be in this list of women that you see in the back of your program. There are so many people there who I know either personally or by reputation, and who have really mentored and inspired me to do the things that, and I've got to say, I hardly recognize myself. I'm not sure who wrote that. But no one really can do anything, or at least very much, by themselves. So you know that there are hundreds of people that I could thank if I had the time. Starting with my parents, who believed that girls could be just as competent as boys in whatever they chose to do, and my super supportive husband, and my very patient and now very applauding daughters and sons-in-law and grandchildren. And there are so many hundreds of others of you who I would like to name but can't, so I hope you know who you are. I do want to call out the League of Women Voters, because it was the League that taught me how to run a meeting and that gave me the purpose that sent me to law school. So thank you.
Congratulations, Mary.
Congratulations. I am pleased to announce our next inductee for the 2022 Iowa Women's Hall of Fame, Laurie Schipper. Laurie was raised in the Waverly Shell Rock area, where she was a standout athlete who had a passion for debate. And I had the chance to meet Laurie backstage, and she played track and softball. She earned a degree in social work from Iowa State University and became an advocate with the Story County Rape Crisis and Advocacy Center, now known as Access, a victim service agency in Ames. She was named Access Executive Director, where she advocated, organized, and established the agency's first shelter for survivors of violent crime to seek safety and support outside of their homes. She spent countless hours working one-on-one with survivors, listening to their stories and fighting for policy and systems change that empowers victims to live a free life, a life free from violence. Later, Laurie was appointed as the executive director of the Iowa Coalition Against Domestic Violence, ICA-DV, Iowa's leading agency to prevent intimate partner violence. For the next 27 years, her leadership helped the agency grow to a membership of 23 direct service providers with more than 350 advocates that serve all 99 Iowa counties. In 1995, in State versus Griffin, she became Iowa's first domestic violence advocate to serve as an expert witness in the trial of a survivor, setting the legal precedent in the state for all advocates who support victims of violent crimes to become and be seen as experts in trials moving forward. Laurie Schipper has a reputation as an advocate who works to ensure that the most vulnerable and marginalized communities who experience violence are served with equitable, culturally relevant services. She hosted one of the state's first AmeriCorps programs focused on housing and economic justice, coordinating the legal clinic to support undocumented survivors and to apply for immigration remedies, organizing programs to mentor and support in the Black community, and serving 2 culturally specific victim advocacy nonprofit programs supporting the Latino and Hard of Hearing, LUNA, and Deaf Iowans Against Abuse. Laurie Schipper spearheaded a first-of-its-kind efforts to change Iowa's model of service delivery from shelter to housing first, a move that is survivor-centered and removes barriers such as transportation, emergency shelter, advocacy, and legal assistance for victims. In 2021, Ms. Schipper recently began a new journey, joining Galvanize USA, a national nonprofit with an opportunity to connect with women on a different stage and continue her lifelong mission of elevating the voices and stories of women and girls. Please welcome and congratulate Laurie Schipper.
Just pose for a picture there. Congratulations, Laurie. Maybe we can ask you a quick question or two as well. Describe this honor. You've had such a legacy of fighting for others. Describe this honor in your life.
Can I also read my?
Please.
I was so afraid you were going to ask me deep philosophical questions up here.
It's fine.
I have some prepared
That's
remarks
fine.
that I think will answer your question. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank the Commission and the Selection Committee and my former colleagues at the Coalition Against Domestic Violence for my nomination. They're all here this morning. I am both honored and extremely humbled by this recognition, and I want to congratulate the other inductees and their families. I'm grateful for the opportunity to make some additional thank yous as well. First, to my parents, Dixie Vanderwerf and Terry Savage, who are here this morning with my little sister all the way from Wisconsin. Thank you for giving me solid, loving foundation and believing that your little girl could do big things. To my husband, Brent, thank you for supporting me unconditionally through the successes and failures, for your patience on the days when all I could see was pain. And to my children, Tyler and Leland, thank you for helping to restore my faith in humanity and teaching me about joy. And to all the women in my life, including the survivors, thank you for your mentoring, your stories, your sisterhood, and for reminding me that it's okay to rest sometimes. And to my grandchildren who helped me live with purpose, thanks, Auden, for sharing today with me, even though you had to miss your first soccer game. For the last decade of my life, I've tried to evaluate my work with the lens of, will it make my descendants proud, and does it honor my ancestors? So it's important for me to call into the room the names of some folks who played an important role in my life who are no longer with us. My big brother Michael, my grandma Irene, and my Aunt Dretta. I think they would be smiling today. Lastly, my prayer is that the advocacy of my youth, my life, and of so many in this room was not for nothing, and that my grandchildren will have a brighter future than their ancestors, that they will be safe in their homes and in their communities. They will have autonomy over their bodies. They will be free to love who they choose, and they will experience in Iowa and in America where everyone can thrive. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
We are proud today to induct Mary Swander of Kelowna into the 2022 Iowa Women's Hall of Fame. Her name is synonymous. She's not able to be here today, but she did, in typical Mary fashion, she has sent a representative on her behalf. So we will hear her words and her expression and her sentiment, but she is having, today, Carol Spalding Cruz will be accepting the award in her honor. Would you raise your hand so we know who we're talking to here? But let's talk a little bit about Mary. Her story is similar to many Iowans. Her mother's family fled the Irish potato famine and homesteaded up near Manning, Iowa. She graduated from Davenport Central High School and the University of Iowa with a degree in Masters of Fine Arts and the hallowed Iowa Writers Workshop. She taught at Iowa State University for over 30 years, becoming a distinguished professor. For 10 years, she was the Poet Laureate of Iowa. Mary Swander's decade of tenure as the Poet Laureate of Iowa is probably most well-known aspect of her legacy. She served in that capacity from 2009 to 2019. But there is a much more important, lesser-known way that Mary has contributed to the state's literary heritage. We now live in an age when Iowans boast that many celebrated and best-selling women writers of enduring accomplishment, and that is due to Mary Swander. It's easy to forget that when Mary Swander first started out as a writer and a professor, once again, far fewer women were elevated into the ranks of Iowa author or allowed entrance into the facilities of the higher education. Mary is the co-founder and executive director of Ag Arts, which is based in that wonderful community of Kelowna, Iowa, a nonprofit that imagines and promotes healthy food systems throughout the arts. She is the host of a podcast called Ag Arts from Horse and Buggy Land. How aptly appropriate. She established residencies for artists on the farms throughout Iowa and around the United States, where she hosts numerous international artists, touring them through our great state. She is also the artistic director of Swander Women Productions, a theater troupe that has toured the United States and performing dramas about food, farming, and the wider rural environment. She's written and produced Farmscape, Vang, and Map of My Kingdom, a series of plays that have been taken topics such as the farm crisis, immigrant farmers, and farmland transition, all of which she knows so much. They perform in venues throughout the United States, which has also included the Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago, Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and the United States Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. But in addition, Mary Swander has performed her own work and given readings, workshops, retreats, keynote lectures, academic papers, and panel presentations in the United States and abroad, from Harvard Law University to the University of Warwick. A dedicated Iowan and a prolific writer who has left an indelible mark on Iowa's heritage, today we honor Mary Swander. We are proud to induct her into the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame class of 2022. And on behalf of that, a few remarks will now be made on behalf of our inductee. It's Carol Spalding Cruz. Ladies and gentlemen, today we honor Mary Swander.
Carol, I'm sure you have some thoughts that maybe she would like to pass along. Tell me kind of what you have prepared. You go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm delighted to accept this award on Mary's behalf. I certainly don't feel like I belong on this stage, but thrilled to be here for her. So she sent a few remarks, and I just wanted to say, I sat with Mary on her outdoor porch in late winter, early spring, and got to know her a little bit more and her dog Banjo. And I'm just celebrating and so happy for Mary this morning. So Mary's words: I'm honored to be inducted into the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame and to join the ranks of so many talented and spirited women, from Mary Youngbear to Meridel LeSueur to Lou Henry Hoover. All of the women in the Hall of Fame have been role models for those of us who have tried to make Iowa a more open and dynamic place that stands for equal and fair treatment of its citizens and fuels the imaginations of its young people. Many, many thanks to all those who fed my artistic talents, from my family who encouraged me in the arts, to my teachers and librarians who taught me poetry and put books in my hands. Thanks too to those who supported me in this award and my adult work as a professor, poet laureate, playwright, and author, gardener, and advocate for people with disabilities. Congratulations and best wishes to my fellow inductees and to all who will come after us to continue to work for the equality of women.
Thank you, Carol. Just one. Now it's my turn. We're shifting our program now to a very worthy award winner for the Cristine Wilson Medal for Equality and Justice. It goes to a recipient who has made a significant contribution to the state of Iowa, especially in the area of equality and justice. Our recipient this year is well known throughout the state of Iowa for his legacy of peace, his past of equality, and his future of justice. He is Iowa State Representative Akeo Abdul-Samad. As a national and international motivational systemic speaker, activist, author, photographer, entrepreneur, and counselor, Akeo Abdul-Samad has impacted the lives of thousands of individuals and families over the last 50 years. Serving now in his 8th term as the House of Representatives in the state of Iowa, Akeo serves on several different committees, including administration and regulation, environmental protection, ethics, international relations, public safety, and local government. Akeo is a member of the Legislative Black Caucus and the Iowa Democratic Black Caucus. Akeo was also elected and served on the Des Moines School Board, serving as vice president. As the CEO and founder of Creative Vision's Human Development Institute in Des Moines, Akeo established the nonprofit organization in 1996. Akeo established and directed business functions that include employment assistance, support services, healthcare management, community development, advocacy, and consultancy on cultural and diversity education, just helping people along and doing it so well. Akeo created FromPainToPower.org, a network developed to aid in bringing individuals together as a collective whole, with the purpose of aiding those who are struggling with core pain. Akeo has said, no one ever has to be alone. This is a special place where people connect with each other to share their feelings and to have a safe place to heal. Eventually having the strength to turn their personal pain to power and understanding that is a choice. Akeo published his first book, A Deeper Truth, Revelations of the Soul, which is a collection of poems depicting personal experiences and events within his own life's journey and journeys to those he has encountered as well. Today, we bestow the coveted Cristine Wilson Medal of Justice and Freedom on Akeo Abdul-Samad. Congratulations, Akeo. I'm sure we can talk to you for a second if that's okay. Your hands are full. We appreciate your time. Akeo, congratulations. You have been such a stalwart around the community. I know, I'm tall, my friend. You have done so much for decades around Iowa, for friends, for family, for people you don't even know. Describe this honor and kind of what drives you over all these decades, because you're a driven individual in this community.
Thank you. First of all, first of all, I have to give honor to God. I wish not to offend anyone, but that's my discipline. Secondly, I want to say that what drives me, is my grandmother, my mother, and my sister. Because, as I thank the individuals this award and who give me this award, and to Marty Anderson, who nominated me, I love you dearly. My grandmother had to go to drinking faucets and bathrooms that said black and white. She could only go to those that said black. I watched my mother raise my sister and I as a single mother and have to struggle. I watched her have to sneak out to go to work because of the way the system was set up. My sister, who is my rock today and always, who's sitting there. Please stand, Stephanie. And the other women that are here, who have struggled, for decades and are still struggling today. What drives me is that at some point, we have to break this generational oppression, this generational discrimination, especially with women, because our women babies should not have to grow up and struggle as everyone in this room has had to struggle. We have to make a difference. That's what drives me. And until we come together and stand together, we will not make that difference. Until we can actually address and make sure we have systemic change within our system so that the organizations that promote women and men, we have to take a different mindset. We have to stand. That's what drives me, because we have to have young men that respect women, but we also need women to respect women. This has to be a two-way street. So that's what drives me. And I know I'm not supposed to talk long.
That's fine. That's fine.
But you gave me the mic.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. But I also want to say, if it wasn't for a lot of women in this audience, I couldn't do what I do. You know, Helen Miller is one of them, who taught me when I got through the House, a representative. Marty Anderson, you know, Janice Edmond Wells, Jackie Easley, you know, and I cannot forget April Wells. I cannot forget Maria Rivas. I cannot forget Betty Andrews. I cannot forget Yvette Muhammad. I cannot forget April Wells. You know, I cannot forget Jamie Woods. And I cannot forget the individuals that are here. You know, Kim Cheeks, individuals that come and continue to help us grow. And they don't get the recognition that they need to get because we don't stand. And I'll be quiet after this, but I want every man in here to stand up. Every man. And I'm not even saying you're able, stand up. I want you to put the biggest round of applause for the women and the struggle that they have went through that you ever given before. I want to say thank you to you again. I love you. I love all of you. I accept this, Stephanie, on behalf of Mom. And I hope we go to the gravesite and we'll say a prayer together and let Mom know that you're still taking care of me and we're doing what we're supposed to do. Thank you again very much, and God bless everyone.
Congratulations. Excellent. Oh, yep, go for it. You win, you get the mic.
I got one more. Cynthia Hunafa, please stand. I just noticed you were here. Thank you. I just saw an order and couldn't leave her out. That's my heart.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Akeo, and to all of the honorees for the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame. We thank you so much for your hard work, the accomplishments you have done, and what's in your future as well. Especially thank you for being such role models for the citizens of Iowa. Beth Coonan has some remarks.
Well, thanks, Eric, and congratulations to all of you. It's such an honor to be on this stage with each and every one of you. I just want to close us out by saying thank you. Thank you to all of you for being here today. I know that it takes great effort sometimes to get places, and we appreciate it. There's all sorts of considerations we have to make now that we didn't necessarily have to make a few years ago. So we appreciate you being here with us today to celebrate in person. I would certainly be remiss if I didn't thank my fellow commissioners who are sort of sprinkled throughout the audience and some up here on stage. Thank you to the Nomination Commission. Thank you to, the Selection Committee. Thank you to all the staff that made this day possible for us, especially Kim Cheeks and Monica Stone and San Wong. And last but not least, Commissioner Cheryl Wisenand, who really poured her heart and soul into making today just a beautiful and successful event. So thanks to all of you. And now, on behalf of the Commission, I have one big ask. There are lots of amazing people in this room. I know you all know other women and men who are worthy of these honors. And I would ask you to flip over your program and find us online or call the department and ask for information and nominate those phenomenal people that you know. We want to make sure that we've got a great selection pool so that we can honor the people who need to be honored. So that's my one ask of you today. Other than that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Eric, who will provide us with some closing instructions.
Thank you very much
Thanks,
for
everyone.
your leadership. Yep. Well, immediately following our presentation and ceremony today, we're going to invite you out to the lobby outside the main doors of the auditorium, where we can spend some time with the honorees, spend some time with each other and share stories. Also just celebrate the lives and the accomplishments that these people have made throughout our state. Have some conversation, share some stories, and get some inspiration as well. We also invite you to look around the Des Moines Community Playhouse and consider coming back during the year for a show here throughout the year. Before we leave today on that note, we want to give a special round of applause today to David Kilpatrick, the Executive Director of the Playhouse, and all the staff who made today possible. Thank you so much. Honorees, we ask you to stay here for a group picture after we are done. Pose with your flowers and your awards as well. But after that, then we can go outside and celebrate one another. It's great to be back face to face for the first time in a couple of years and celebrate great people and great women across the state of Iowa in person. We thank you so much for being here for the 2022 Iowa Hall of Fame, Women's Hall of Fame ceremony. Thank you so much. Have a great day.